All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you're still getting Whataburger, don't worry. There's plenty. Keep getting it. Get as much as you want. All right, everyone. Welcome to our noon panel. It's called Border Brick Blueprint, the Renaissance of Downtown Brownsville. The building that you're in today, I'm going to go on this side. The building you're in today is part of the Renaissance in downtown Brownsville that's taking place. And there's no better group that I think we can put on stage that would kind of exemplify the change that's taking place here in downtown Brownsville. And I see some conversations are wrapping up. Please, thank you. So on our panel, we have Miriam Suarez, Community Development Manager for BCIC. Ramiro Gonzalez, Director of Development for OrigoWorks. Former mayor of the city of Brownsville and founder of Dodici Pizza, Trey Mendez. Financial advisor and co-founder of Ramos Hospitality Group, Michael Limas. So I really don't think we can talk about the Renaissance taking shape without where Brownsville was circa the early aughts, almost 2008, 2010. So I'm going to chuck this first question over to Ramiro. When you were at the city, can you kind of tell us the paths and rather the story of how Market Square got started? Because that's really the epicenter of downtown Brownsville.
Yeah, thank you, Nathan. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So, you know, I moved back to Brownsville in 2009, and, you know, a lot of people don't realize this, but I wrote my master's thesis on downtown Brownsville, and it's available online. But anyways, 2010 was really, there had been multiple kind of attempts to kind of kick this downtown thing off started, or get it started, and 2010 was really kind of that time where Market Square presented, there was an opportunity presented with Market Square and what we were going to do with Market Square. The bus station had just opened. I think the bus station's probably almost 10 years old now, which is amazing. But that really kind of triggered, what are we going to do with Market Square? And it was really just kind of empty. It was sitting there. And so we did a lot of work, a lot of planning work, a lot of background work on what Market Square was going to look like. A couple of people in the, well, Miriam was actually interning at the time. Eva was also interning at the city. And they were of great assistance, but so we did community engagement, we did build a better block, we did, you know, we just had events to try to understand what it is that Market Square needed. One of the things we understood is that they needed shade, right? And so that's why you see a lot of the trees that are there, because the shade was a big problem when we had these events. And so at the city, we really said we need to have this kind of this one project that will catalyze investment, and we thought Market Square was it. And so with Market, you know, the vision was always that we would do Market Square as a plaza, which is what you see now, and then there would be restaurants and bars that would come along and actually locate and start to kind of, you know, you would have your outdoor dining and you would have things that you see when you visit other cities. And so it's really worked out quite remarkable, and the vision became a reality. And so that's really where we started.
You had mentioned Market Square being that catalyst here and all the different bars and restaurants that have opened up, and we have two restaurateurs here. And this is questions for the two of you. What inspired you to kind of move into downtown Brownsville, and what immediate setbacks did you have to partake in?
Okay, well, I mean, as a restaurateur, for me, the Fernandez building, which is where Dodici is now, I purchased that in 2010. So this is kind of around the same time Ramiro was talking about, where things weren't really happening. You saw some movement for the bus station. And at that time, 2010, downtown Brownsville, there was really not a whole lot going on. There was a stigma of all sorts of stuff that was happening. There was a lot of rundown buildings. We saw a lot of blight. And nobody really wanted to invest at the time. So in 2010, what I was able to see is I had a vision. I saw through a lot of it. And in order to kind of do something crazy, sometimes you got to be a little crazy as well. And kind of seeing through what it could be. And I've always been kind of optimist in that way as far as seeing what downtown could be. And I think we're starting to kind of unwrap that a little bit. But Dodici opened July 2018. I'm sorry, yes, July 2018. So we're going on 6 years here in a couple months. But I dreamt up the concept probably several years before. But I really started focusing on opening it sometime in 2016. And the catalyst for that for me was I had a tenant there in that corner space, and they left. So I've always thought this was a great corner space. You've got windows that face 12th Street. You have windows that face Adams Street. It's a beautiful place to sit and enjoy and just kind of look out the window and see what downtown's all about. So at that point, I had a vision, okay, I've got to do something here. I thought maybe it would be a good coffee shop. Probably would have been a good coffee shop, but Then I started kind of thinking up the Neapolitan pizza concept, pizza and wine, and I thought, well, this is kind of a risk. I thought that I knew that the wine was going to work out, and I knew that the space was going to work out. The aesthetic of the space was going to be done in a way to where I knew people wanted to be there, and I knew the patio was going to work. I knew people would want to be out there. Very Parisian, very New Orleans style, atmosphere. And I thought, okay, the patio's going to work, the aesthetic's going to work, the wine's going to work. Are people going to take to the pizza? Neapolitan style is a lot different, and I thought, okay, we'll see. So took a risk and really just felt that it would work. And thankfully, from day one, we were full, and we've been fortunate to run a good business ever since. But it was a risk, definitely, and I think that's kind of why a lot of us are up here, because we saw through a lot of the things that people didn't want to see through in 2010. Nobody wanted to come down here. People would talk about downtown as ropas usadas, lots of things going on. You don't want to be there at night. You didn't want to be in certain areas at night. And then it just takes that one kind of business, that one person to really see through it, believe it, take a risk, and change the mindset. And I think we've seen that. We started bringing in people from Harlingen, from McAllen, into downtown Brownsville, to Dodici, started seeing people from other areas of town, from the north side of Brownsville. People that hadn't been downtown in 15, 20 years were coming to the restaurant and saying, wow, this is great. I never thought something like this would be in downtown. We haven't been to downtown in 10 years. We haven't been here in 20 years. This is great. I hope more people do this. And that's a segue for Michael.
Just piggybacking, and my kind of personal story was I was up in San Antonio. I went to college there. I started my practice as a financial advisor. But I always knew I wanted to come home. So I came home in 2009, and I really didn't know anything that was going on downtown. I think it was still ingrained in my brain that, that's something where you go Raposadas, or it's really built for the folks across in Matamoros to come and purchase product and take it back to Matamoros. But I went to the 409 Gallery, which is now Curio 409, and a gentleman by the name of Mark Clark, phenomenal artist, but he would put on these events every Sunday, I believe, and it was just art. It was local talent. That's where I heard the Fontradas, the El Hueso de Fraile. That was the first time I ever heard the family, and I was in awe of these people. That there was, they collectively know 50 different instruments as a family. And so that was a vibe that I wanted, and the walkability of downtown. There's a certain beauty in historic environments like downtown Brownsville. As you all know, we're the second most historic downtown after San Antonio. So, but I didn't have any money, so I couldn't do anything. So I built my career, and I think strategic alliances are everything. And I started to see little rumblings, and as a financial planner, you're always forward thinking. And I specialize in retirement planning, so it's long-term investments. And so I kind of saw downtown Brownsville as an undervalued stock. I saw it as, if people have a change in their belief system, if they put a little bit of money into the area, this thing could be something special. And so that is around the time where, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Work Pub. It was a co-working center on Elizabeth Street. The fellas from Terras started to do their thing. And for me, I started to see that this is what the community really wants. But again, I'm in the risk management business as a financial advisor. And so I always explain to clients, it's risk versus reward. The lower the risk, the lower the reward. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. And so kind of echoing Trey's statements, he mentioned risk a few times. And to this day, in 2024, it's still a tremendous risk. No matter what entrepreneurship you do and what part of the city that you're doing it in, it's still going to be a risk. But along with my brother, who's a local attorney here in town, we have a lot of ties to downtown Brownsville. We grew up down the road. My grandfather was a lieutenant for Brownsville PD. He used to work the beat here downtown, when it used to be kind of Main Street. And so there's that emotional aspect of this is home. And you can't replicate that anywhere else but where you grew up. And so for me, it's beyond the dollars and cents. It was about significance and impact. So yeah, I'd love to be as rich as the fellow down the Boca Chica over there. But for me here is what type of impact and what type of significance can I provide through anything, right? Whether it's civic engagement, volunteerism, whether it's business. That was something that I felt could happen in downtown Brownsville. So that was one of the driving forces. And secondly, we wanted to be a cut above the rest. I always hated, and no offense if I know this is the RGV Startup, but a lot of folks would leave Brownsville for nightlife. They would go to other parts of the valley. And I always knew we had the talent and skill set here, but we needed more risk takers, like Trey mentioned. And so that was what we wanted to do, is we wanted to create the best cocktail bar in the valley. And as of tomorrow, it's officially our 5th year of Las Ramblas being in existence. We started the idea back in 2017 after a brother's trip to Spain. And the process was a bit of a journey, to say the least. But one of the most beautiful aspects of that process is the folks around you that want to see you succeed, that are willing to help and give you a discount or something, like Juan Chapa, where he is, that's right there. He was our architect at Ramblas, and I think we paid you in cocktails, right? I think that was we're still running a tab. But community, that sense of community is something that's very hard to describe. And I think once you get a sense of what that feels like, you want more and more and more. So you want to do more businesses, and you want to help more and volunteer more. So for me, that was my kind of journey in a very condensed version. But ultimately, we wanted to provide something that Brownsville could be proud of, and a location where you could enjoy an exquisite drink, converse, celebrate your engagement, have a nonprofit event. We wanted to be viewed as a resource, not as vendors. And so that is, in short, one of the whys behind why we took on this challenge.
You both mentioned about being proud of Brownsville and the historical New Orleans flourishes. And on your panel we have Miriam, and I don't think there's anyone has more pride and knows more about the history of downtown Brownsville. Miriam, in your capacity as both Community Development Manager for BCIC, with your time at the City of Brownsville's Planning Department and Cameron County Historical Commission, can you touch on the historical aspect of downtown Brownsville, why it's so important, and then two-part question, why key resources are needed for its growth?
Hello. So the importance of Brownsville, and this session is called Border Brick, and that's a very accurate name for this. So Border Brick is an architectural style that's unique to the Lower Rio Grande Valley, and it mixes Creole, Mexican, and Spanish Revival architecture where they utilized mud from the Rio Grande to make the brick that you see in a lot of our border brick buildings. There's a total of 47 still remaining border brick buildings in Brownsville alone, which is the largest inventory in the Lower Rio Grande Valley. And it's that ornamentation detail that you see at the top of these buildings. And Dodici, the Fernandez y Hermano building is one of the most prominent ones, as well as the Wet Miller drugstore where Curio 409 is. And so the history of the city of Brownsville is really important. In the state of Texas, heritage tourism is a $7 billion industry. And so we are in a great place to tap into that. And anybody that ever comes to Brownsville, architects, people from the Texas Historical Commission, the National Park Service, they always comment on, not only how much historic fabric we have, but the mix of great architecture that still stands. And so it was a detriment that, for 20 plus years, downtown property owners didn't do anything with the buildings, but at the same time, we were able to retain that historic fabric because they weren't significantly altered. And as such, we're able to have a National Register Historic District designation, which is really important. Cities like Charleston, Savannah have that designation, and people go and visit because of the history. And so, it's important for us to not only redevelop downtown Brownsville, but also keep in mind and have that, want to preserve our history. And with BCIC, I do oversee the Business Improvement and Growth Program, or also known as BIG, where we provide financial incentives for the rehabilitation of buildings. And the program wasn't designed to be a historic preservation program, but the majority of our participants are not only local, but they also are owners of historic properties. So out of the 58 projects that we've been able to fund, 37 of those have been restorations of historic buildings. So that's something to be really proud of. And, everybody on this panel, everybody on this panel now, because he started on the other side of the coin, right? I started with Ramiro as an intern, and that's really where I fell in love with downtown and historic preservation planning. Evan and I learned a lot, and so, I'm still here.
I mean, it started really raw. I mean, I have pictures of Miriam and myself, painting the, I don't know if y'all remember, Before I Die wall. Eva was there. I mean, we were just doing whatever it kind of took just to kind of inspire something. And I think Mike and Trey are right with risk, right? There's the dreamers, there's the visionaries, there's the risk takers. And you need a good blend of that to get something going. And so I do want to recognize, because they're here, another risk taker and early adopter, Hector and Diana. They Main Street and then Morning Glory and who knows what's coming, right? I think there's some other stuff coming, but I think they were also one of the early adopters, behind Trey and Mike. But anyways, Mike.
And I'm going to open it up soon to bring in a few other folks here that are part of the downtown revitalization to ask some questions. But you all also pointed out a few things about the historical preservation process. Can any of you share, and I'm sure there's a lot, share some challenges or even horror stories that you've come to uncover with some of the projects that you've worked on?
Yeah, I can talk about that. I've done quite a few. First thing is, it's never going to cost what you think it's going to cost. Always budget for probably 50 to 100% more. You open up a wall, you see something, you see old electrical systems, old HVAC systems, old plumbing that's got to be rerouted, dug up. Depending on whether it's a pier and beam structure like my office or something that's on a foundation like the Coca-Cola, it really is going to depend on the building and how old it is. The great thing about older buildings is they were built to last, and you see all sorts of historical infrastructure downtown. We've got buildings dating back to the mid-1800s. I know that we've heard that Brownsville is the second most historic city in the state. That's based on a lot of historical infrastructure, buildings. I was actually the chair of what used to be the Heritage Council, which then morphed into the Historic Preservation and Design Review Board. I don't know what the heck it's called now, but we would deal with permitting when people would come to us to say, hey, I want to rehab, or I want to fix, or I want to knock down buildings. So our job, we were really tasked with trying to figure out, okay, what are the issues, what sort of problems going on, and what's this person's limitations. And the sad thing is, we lost a lot of buildings because of economics. We would see a lot of people come to us saying, hey, the contractor says I've got to knock the house down, or contractor says I've got to replace these windows that are historic wooden windows with metal windows or vinyl windows because it's going to cost so much more to do this. We lost a lot of buildings just because of generations or decades worth of deferred maintenance or neglect that then made it almost, it just wasn't an economic argument to rehabilitate it for some people. And that's a reality of our area. The economics still plays a part in rehabilitation and saving historic structures. That is why programs like what BCIC has, what Miriam's worked on, what Ramiro worked on previous, are so important. And you hear a lot of criticism, or you hear a lot of people talk about, people are getting money for buildings, old buildings downtown, or why is the city focusing so much on downtown? Or, just not understanding what it is and what the value is that comes with that. Number one, why would the city decide to invest in downtown? Well, let's look at it. What makes Brownsville unique? And when I was mayor, that was one of my things is I want to reinvest and I want to invest in what makes Brownsville unique. Well, besides San Antonio, who else can beat us when it comes to historical infrastructure? Nobody. That's a draw. People come from all sorts of places to our downtown because of its history, because of its charm, and now because of several businesses and business owners that have chosen to open down here. And then why do you need sometimes to incentivize people? Well, because not everybody wants to take a risk. It costs more money to rehabilitate older buildings. It costs more money to fix them up, and really it's a risk. People know that, if you want to open up something, you go to the north side, it's a lot easier. The traffic's there, the data's there, shows how dense it is and how many people are out there. It's almost, it's not even that difficult, it seems like, if you've got a good concept. But you come downtown, the people that have opened businesses downtown, we've got JZD here and they've done a great job. People that open businesses downtown are looking for something different. It's a different culture, it's a different vibe, it's a different place to be, and nothing makes me happier as a business owner, as a restaurant owner. I've told people this. I want people to come to my restaurant and I want to, see them walk out the door and I want to see them walk back by in 2 hours, because that tells me they've been to several other places. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that organic growth. But there's all sorts of horror stories when it comes to rehabilitation. But I really applaud the people that have done it, that have stuck with it, that have seen it through, because I think it pays dividends. And it's really cool to see all these buildings now get rehabbed, and I think we're just starting to kind of get there. But like I said, whatever it is that you think it's going to cost, it's going to be a lot more. And if it wasn't for some programs like what we have with BIG and with BCIC, a lot of the stuff you're seeing downtown would not have happened.
Yeah, just kind of following up, the revitalization program that Miriam is spearheading is absolutely critical to the success of downtown Brownsville. As Trey mentioned, you do your due diligence, you run your metrics. The metrics are showing, go to Pablo Quisel. And again, we support all entrepreneurs in our city, in our area, but I tell folks, entrepreneurship is like climbing Mount Everest, right? And so I feel sometimes if you open up a business in downtown or in North Brownsville, you're climbing Mount Everest, but you have a couple oxygen tanks, you got an extra tent, you got a Sherpa showing you the way. And if you do it in downtown Brownsville, you go into it knowing that I have to climb that same mountain and I have a walking stick only. It's going to be harder because the break-even point, the return on investment, is just going to take more time, because I could just walk in to a strip center next to Staples or something and say, I just need 1,000 square feet and we're good. Everything's permitted out, there's infrastructure, there's fire suppression, it's all done. But you've seen some of these buildings, right? They look a little, they need some TLC. So going into that, that's where I go back to, you're still climbing that mountain of entrepreneurship, but just understand it's going to be harder. I would also say that don't see the city of Brownsville or the planning department as the enemy. They're your business partners at the end of the day. Because if you want to do business in Brownsville, you got to do business with the city of Brownsville. So one thing I learned very closely is get to know the folks at the planning department. They're human beings just like us. They're under a lot of stress. Brownsville economics is booming, which means the planning department is booming. I know Trey in his tenure, he tried to really move the needle in the right direction, and it worked. So we're starting to see a lot more speed, permitting and things of that nature. But that's the innovation that we need to move the needle in the right direction much quicker. But at the same time, we're very lucky. There's this resurgence in downtown. We've got a lot of publications reaching out to us, interviewing us, asking us questions. And they love to see the movement in downtown Brownsville, but I said, it's called revitalization for a reason. We're not complete. I still feel we're in the infancy of this entire process, which makes it absurdly exciting to be a part of it, right? And that's how I see Ramblas. We're just the chink in the chain. right? We're doing our part, just like Trey and his team, just like Ram and their teams, like Hector and their teams. We're all just a chink in the chain trying to make this beautiful thing, not only for us as a community, but remember, we want to drive tourism, right? We want people to spend their dollars here, so that sales tax generations goes to places like eBridge, right? That's what economic development is. So why don't we make this area as beautiful and attractive as possible so that we drive those sales tax? That we get nicer roads, more parks, more bike trails. The city of Brownsville is a business, and we're helping drive that business downtown. So I see the city as a partner. I've got to know a lot of the folks over there, and I think if you're going to embark on this journey, get to know those folks, and they will work with you. It could be frustrating, and you're going to get disappointed from time to time, but that's entrepreneurship, as you know. But yeah, I don't think I have enough time to talk about my horror stories, but they're out there. But at the end of the day, we're open, and we've been open, and again, it's through collaboration with entities like BCIC, City of Brownsville, CVB, everybody is part of this ecosystem. And I always say a high tide raises all ships, and that's really what we're doing for one another, whether we realize it or not.
So just to piggyback on that, I feel like a good indicator of a healthy city is a vibrant downtown, and so that's why the city decided to make that investment many years ago. And over the past 12 years that I've been involved in this, I mean, it's taken a lot of work, a lot of stakeholders, a lot of partners, not only the community, but also leadership. The city had to be involved, all the organizations, and so downtown revitalization isn't an easy task. I was telling Michael earlier, how many times have you heard like, oh, I know what would make downtown, great. And you hear 1,000,001 stories, and yes, they do make a lot of sense, but to make that change is very difficult. And so it took a multifaceted approach and many, many people to reach this critical mass that I feel like we're at that point now. And they're right, it's not the time to stop, because even though you do see a lot of movement and over the past, since 2019 that the big program was started, we've helped over 41 businesses either open here or relocate or expand. And, but we still have about 40% vacancy. And there's about 70 of those buildings. There's probably like 230 buildings in the central business district alone. And 77 of those buildings are multi-story buildings that, we have over before it was 1 million square feet of 500,000 square feet of vacant upper story floor space. And so we still have a lot of work to do. And so that's why programs like BIG exist. They talk about risk. Our program exists to mitigate that risk and help attract that investment. And since 2019, we've awarded $2.9 million in grant funding to 58 projects, and we have been able to leverage $25 million in private investment, which is a testament to there's an interest. Downtown is the place to be, and it's what makes us unique.
I just wanted to mention, we still need help, right? And what does help look like, right? It's very subjective. But help could be as simple as sharing a post from a local downtown business. Help could be show up and buy some fish tacos, which congratulations to those guys. Help could be go to one of these nonprofit events that are hosted downtown. It's about kind of reconfiguring our mindset of what downtown Brownsville is. Use a parking garage. Super easy to use, right? Maybe don't say something negative about parking, because parking's an issue in every downtown. Have you ever been to downtown Austin? I walk half a mile to just go get some, barbecue or something. So I think you folks in the audience, we need you. The call to action is we still need help. We might rattle off, oh, we have this, we have this, we have that, but we still need a lot of help. Drive by downtown on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. not every restaurant is full and packed to the brim, right? But you go pass by Chili's, and it's, we need a 30-minute reservation to get into Chili's these days. There's nothing wrong with Chili's. And, they're providing jobs and driving sales tax as well. But remember, downtown, for the most part, is all homegrown. We're local, we're risk takers, and we care so much that we're willing to take that risk, not just for our benefit, but for the community's benefit. So if you have a takeaway from this session is we still need help. And yes, I don't want to speak for my fellow panelists, we appreciate, the pats on the back and all those different things, but we still need help, right? And so keep that in mind as you converse about today with your family, with your friends. Tell them a positive, upbeat, uplifting story about why downtown is so special. And that's my ask for you, is that we as the folks that are kind of in that process of helping revitalize, I'm not going to stand here and say, like, we're a major success. No, we're still a growing entity. We're still in the infancy of our business, and we need all the help we can get. So just want to throw that out there.
Just one last thing. I mean, I think we all have to think about, I think everybody's really quick to kind of forget where we were, right, or where we started. And so if you think about 2012 really is kind of that, 2011, 2012 is really that kind of year. El Jardín was still not even a dream. That's done. The Samano building, it wasn't even on the radar. That's being restored. All the buildings that have now been activated and restored. This building was 18,000 square feet of emptiness. Coca-Cola building was 24,000 square feet of emptiness. We're getting there. But I do fear, I was telling Trey the other day, I don't know if you all remember the George W. Bush mission accomplished. On the ship he said mission accomplished, and it really wasn't, right? I do fear that we cannot let off the accelerator at this point. OrigoWorks, for example, the company I work with, we're bringing in, we're going to activate right across from the fire station. We're, thanks to BCIC support as well, it'll be a 400-person event center. That's the largest one of the largest event centers other than the event center. So that's coming to downtown as well. That'll bring more people downtown. So we cannot say mission accomplished. It's not accomplished. We still need another 12. This will never stop. But I'm looking forward to the next 12 years and where we're at, because this is exciting.
You all touched on some really great points, which is going to lead into my next question. With El Jardín and HCAB and with CDCB Samano, wanting that residential density within downtown, where do you see the future of downtown within 5-6 years from now?
For me, I feel Brownsville's kind of split into two. This is like the New York, densely populated, walkable streets. And you kind of go up north and it's more like the suburbs, spread out, a lot of grass. But people like me, I want to live downtown. I want to be able to walk out of my condo, what have you, walk downstairs, go to Sweet Company, get a coffee, go run to Donichi for lunch on Friday, and things like that. I think a lot of the community wants that feeling of, I don't need to get in my car to go get my Whataburger. And so I think that aspect is something that once you bring in the people, which there's a huge demand for folks wanting to live in downtown Brownsville, there's just no opportunity yet. But with the new folks coming in, you're going to see this entire landscape change. To me, in the next 5 years, we're going to go supernova, not only with the influx of all the industry coming in, just the city wanting to live in this area, activate this area. We're going to need all the traffic. We're going to need our barber shops. We're going to need a dentist. We're going to need the pharmacy. We're going to need all those different things. And I feel that is inevitable. So for me, it's just exciting to be a part of it. And I really see a vibrant, even more vibrant downtown in the next few years, but a big reason is because of housing.
Yeah, I do think, and I've always thought that there's several kind of different points, and I do agree that there's no reason to celebrate. This is by far not anywhere close to being done. Don't celebrate any touchdowns. You're probably not even at the 50-yard line at this point. But first was you needed to get that organic growth, the buy-in from local investment. Then you go into getting some public money, some public investment. We saw a 10x return from the big program, $2 million turn into 20-something, so 10x plus. Then I think there's two catalysts that are probably coming soon. One is the next phase, I hope, is going to be some sort of urban living. We need more urban living. I think there's only one place now where you can rent downtown and actually live, and it's been full for a long time. I think we need more places to live, certainly, to have that. And then next, I think you're going to start to see larger investment from other places. You're going to start to see other anchors. I know Michael loves Chili's, apparently, so maybe we'll get a Chili's downtown, Michael, but really, once you start to see now, you've seen a lot of the organic growth, local investment, people taking risks, people believing in what it is that they're doing, opening up a lot of great concepts on their own. You're probably going to start to see outside investment start to come in because they see opportunities, they see the growth, they see the demographics of the city, they see the economics. So I think that's going to be coming at some point. Once we see that, then I think that's going to create more investment and larger investment. I think you'll see maybe multi-use projects. You'll see living and retail. You're going to start to see all sorts of other stuff start to happen. Then you're going to, we've seen a lot of people purchase property downtown. Some of those people are holding. Some of those people are just waiting to figure out what it is that they're going to do. So we're going to start to see a lot of other businesses come online, local businesses come online, which is great. But the public aspect is really important. Leadership is incredibly important. What's happening at City Hall and what kind of leadership you have is incredibly important. You need leadership that believes in this, that sees the value in it, that sees the value of 10x growth, that sees the value of infrastructure improvements, that sees the value of public investment to try and incentivize certain people from doing other things that are necessary in our city to bring in the heritage tourism, the active tourism, the people that want to come down here, live, work, play, all of that. So the public aspect needs to be there from this whole entire process. So the leadership at City Hall is incredibly important. What sort of monies the city designates in its budget, that means incentives, police personnel, fire safety, that's hugely, really important. We've seen public partnerships that are creating density in housing from CDCB, from the Housing Authority. So for me, when I served as mayor, it was incredibly important for me to see El Jardín come back to life. For me, that was going to be a catalyst. It was a huge domino, and it took a long time, but we got it done. And that was, it's going to be a huge, almost $30 million project, probably by the time it's done or more. And that's going to uplift that area too. You're seeing pockets of places start to grow. You're starting to see Washington develop. From Coca-Cola down to Main Street and Morning Glory, you're starting to see that block develop. Then you see other blocks start to develop, and all it takes is one catalyst to kind of take that risk, improve their building, bring in a good business. People start to come. You see more activity. That makes other people want to do the same thing. You see some investment, some more people start to come in. So it all kind of functions together. But I would say that none of this gets done without public support and good leadership.
I'll keep it short. Don't forget about you. Everything Trey said and Mike said. Don't forget about UTRGV at the Majestic Theater. That's huge. And I think one of the things that the city is working on, which back then. People that would tell me that we have a parking problem, I would tell them I would love to have a parking problem. I have a parking management problem at the time. I think at this point we're starting to see kind of the growth pains in parking. We do have a parking garage, but that parking garage was really built for the bus station. It wasn't really built for downtown, right? It's actually built with bus station money. And so that's why people say, well, why did they put the parking garage there? Because it was built for the bus station. And so I think those are the kind of the two, other than private investment and catalytic projects, a little here, there, I think those are the two biggest things that are coming that are not kind of on the radar yet. UTRGV, I don't know. I think, just knowing the procurement process, it'll probably be about another year or two before you see any cranes and stuff go up. And the same thing with the parking garage. But I think we're at a point where parking is an issue. And so that's it.
Let me jump in really quick. And that topic is another reason why leadership is so important and why what happens at the city is so important, because you have to have the vision, you have to have the planning talent, and you have to know where you're going to be, not just next year, but in 5 years and 10 years. And parking is obviously something. We need another parking garage. We need more parking. That should be on the city's radar. When I served as mayor, it was important to digitize the permitting process, to make it easier to open businesses, to make it easier to rehabilitate older structures so that you wouldn't have to jump through all sorts of hoops, because we saw so many people just decide to stop a project or say, you know what, forget it, it's too hard. But that was years ago. Now we streamlined the process, made it easier. That doesn't mean it's a perfect process, but we made it easier, and that had to come at the city level. Planning comes at the city level. So if there's failures there, then it creates ripple effect that creates further problems down the road. So if that's not there and there's no plans in place for that, then that can create problems.
And so the BCIC Board of Directors recently approved funding for a downtown master plan for the city. So that should help, address all of these issues that were brought up today. The residential component is definitely the next thing that's, on the radar. And a few years ago, the city took a small delegation to the city of San Antonio, and we met with the assistant city manager who's in charge of the expansion of the Riverwalk, and they went through a renaissance phase as well. And one of the things that they didn't plan for was the residential component. And so you can go and visit, all of the stores downtown, and they had tourist tchotchkes and, keychains and things like that, but they didn't have everyday necessities for the people that eventually went to live there. So planning is really important, and that's why we decided the BCIC board decided to fund the downtown master plan. So hopefully that would help.
Thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the audience. We've got about 7 minutes left. Just a second, I want you on audio.
Thanks for everything you all are doing downtown. It's really transformative. I'm wondering, what are the barriers to activating our second floors for residential? What's keeping that from happening? It seems like a really natural progression.
Cost. When we were looking at the second floor of Coca-Cola building, we went the office route just because we thought office was another component that was needed. But one of the first plans we came up with was apartments, and it would be 10 units, I think, upstairs. But that means double the plumbing, double the electrical, double the bathrooms, double the kitchens. I mean, everything just doubles if you do two bathrooms, two bed, So I think the biggest thing is going to be cost. It could be elevator. Obviously, the first that are thrown out are elevator and sprinklers. But I think with the programs that are in place, that kind of cost gets mitigated. Now you have a construction cost of just sheer kind of what it takes to build living. We are going to get 10, 12 units at the Cameron Hotel. That project is set to take off here probably in the next couple of months, which is down at 9th and Washington, the old Cameron Hotel. They are going to do living. And I've seen the plans. They're great plans. And they're going to take a stab at 10 to 12 units there. I don't know if it's going to be short-term stay, or I think it's going to be long-term living and a couple of units for short-term stay. But I think it's just sheer cost. Yeah. I think what you're going to find, and I think what you're starting to find, is people move into the kind of the outer rim of downtown, those houses, let's say between Palm and 7th, right? You're going to start to see those houses start to rehab, and you see a little bit of that, and I think that's the first ring that happens, and then the more expensive ring is obviously the inner core.
I agree completely. Cost is a big issue. Ordinances and codes were another. We tried to fix that, and I think we did fix that to make it easier to work on historic buildings, kind of bypass some of the codes that existed to make it, that were barriers to improving second floors. Sprinklers come up a lot. I know that BCIC had a program for sprinklers to help incentivize business owners or building owners on sprinklers. Elevators are another issue as well. But yeah, cost, I think, is the biggest issue now. I think ordinances and codes were probably the biggest issue in the past because people just wouldn't get past that because they just wouldn't get cooperation at the city level, or they just didn't know how to do it, or they weren't anticipating what the costs were going to be from that. But yeah, I think at this point now it's probably cost.
Good afternoon. How are you folks doing? Everyone's good shape? Hey, Trey, first and foremost, the first time that I've had a microphone on speaking to you, sir, as long as I've known you, but let me tell you what, you're doing a great job, and you continue to do a good job, because for whatever reason, I feel that you have, Brownsville's best interest. And at the end of the day, that's probably, an accurate statement, I would say. That's my, my opinion. However, so I am a Brownsville resident, born and raised, lifelong. I took off for a little while, here and there. But I spent 20 years in the McAllen area, okay? And I saw McAllen, totally change. And I was there in 1998, 2001, around. Okay, so this is 20-some years ago. Now, the best thing about it is that they continue to, evolve and grow. But the beauty of it is that I see is that please pardon my French when I say this, but I think we're going to kick their ass. We're gonna totally. I'm just saying, because I know that we have way more here in this area. So anyway, I'm back in Brownsville. I'm here to stay. Guess what? I'm ready to make a move myself personally. Some of you know me, some of you don't, but it doesn't matter. My point is that I think Brownsville's future is so bright, guys. Extremely. And I commend all of you, especially up on the stage, and everybody that's involved here and doing whatever it is that we're doing right now. You guys are doing a great job, okay? I just want to say, heads up. I see these things, okay? All right.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right.
Aside from restaurants, I guess bars and housing, what other types of business or types of ideas do you think would work in downtown Brownsville, like a movie theater or some music stuff? Any ideas?
I think for me personally is just more retail. JZD in the house here, they're doing a phenomenal job representing Brownsville, but more specifically downtown Brownsville. So for me, I feel like some more retail options that you're starting to already see, but just a change of pace for what we've seen for the last 20 plus years. Hare and Holly, again, it's Hare and Holly, right? Hare and Holly, again, a phenomenal store. So things like that, to me, all the other areas that you mentioned is sorely needed as well, but amplifying our retail space. And then I would love to see even more, which major shout out to Jolie Poteet, but more breakfast and lunch spot alternatives. And so that's, for me personally, just more retail and breakfast and lunch spots.
I agree with Mike. I think we got to look at it as, how do you spend a day in downtown? So if you come for lunch, how do you stay through a showing at the Majestic at the UTRGV Performing Arts Center, right? So you go to lunch, you go to JZD, you go to Hare and Holly, you go to other shops, and then somehow you end up, sticking around till 6 or 7. Maybe you hit Ramblas before you go to the Performing Arts Center. That, I think, is what what my vision would be, in the sense, how do you spend a day, or how do you spend at least half a day, and how do you kind of capture that? That obviously captures sales tax and all kinds of other stuff.
I think retail's at the top of the list. I think we need more retail, more draws downtown, and then arts, entertainment, culture. We're seeing the Majestic project's going to be coming online in the next couple years. That was a project that was kind of below the radar, that was being worked on very quietly for about a year or more. And Ramiro was involved in that. Doesn't get a lot of credit for it, but he was very heavily involved in making that happen. But if we just continue to make it a draw, bring more people, grab a larger audience, and continue to make it a district, continue to make it a place that people want to come to, just like they want to go to other historic downtowns across the state and across the country.
I mean, this facility alone is working the way it should, right? The vision of this facility was that you would come, you would get services, maybe you would start your business, and then when you looked for outgrowth, you would look for a place downtown. And I think in the short time that eBridge has existed, I know that it's happening, right? I know there are people that have come here, and maybe their business is already growing, or they want a more private area, or whatever you have it. This place is already working, and it's only been here a year. And so I think, imagine where we're going to be 5 years from now. So to add to what I said, I think office is another component. I think, I'm starting to see people that, in the building, that people, Louis moving in here. There's all kinds of people that are interested in office. And so I think this is a recipe for success. I've always thought it. And I think it's amazing that it's already working. So.
And we've had 2 businesses downtown, Jolie Petit and Hare and Holly, that just submitted an application for rent reinvestment that, did just that. They started with the Kaufman program, and then they went to brick and mortar, and, are tapping into our program, so it works. And I think, definitely having a mix of arts, locally made goods. We have a huge artist community, and so encouraging that.
I'll tell the story real quick because I think it's a good one. In the leasing of the building, I put it up on the MLS system, on the realtor system, and I didn't get one call from any realtor. Everybody that's in the building has come organically, right? For whatever reason. But I think that there's another element there of, realtors have to understand what's available. It's just another element, but it's something that they need to learn as well. Because I didn't get one phone call. It was very interesting to me. But.
Hi, guys. I just want to make one statement to you guys, and I know that a lot of people have shared a similar sentiment that are just encouraging you and saying good job, and are excited for where you guys started and where it's headed. I share the same sentiment. Thank you all so much for taking that leap. And people who aren't from here don't understand how much of a risk. I know you guys have mentioned risk. How much of a I don't even know what the word is, to have the courage to do this. Those of us that are born and raised here, it is transformative to see what's happened here. And my mom's from Matamoros, and she worked over here downtown as a teenager. And growing up, I always heard, downtown used to be this, and I used to work here, and, it was just thriving and booming, and it was such an epicenter. I mean, she would just go on and on about what downtown was like. And when I was considering where to move after a job that I had near Austin, I was applying Austin, Dallas, Houston, and I saw something on Facebook that just ignited this desire. I want to go back home. I feel like there's forward movement there, and it was the best decision ever. And I realized the other day that I'm kind of like a third generation, because for downtown, my grandma worked here in Casa de Nylon. My mom worked at some of the duty-free shops, and now I do photo work down here as well. So, yeah, just thank you guys for being able to take that leap of faith.
Thank you for sharing that and giving thank yous. You know, organizations like BCIC are absolutely critical to the success of our community, and I'm so proud to see what they've put together with RGV Startup Week. It's been a dream of mine to have something like this, and it's the inaugural year, so you know it's going to get even bigger and better as the years go on. But don't lose sight of the municipality and entities like BCIC, because they're the ones that have the ability to move the needle in the right direction much quicker than a lot of organizations. So I just want to say a huge thank you to Nathan, Corey, the rest of the BCIC team, because again, I was part of the conversations about what should we do with Casa de Nylon. And fast forward to this day, I understand the economic impact that this building will have. To Ram's point, it's already happening. But again, we need to sell our other Brownsville citizens on what's happening downtown. So there's nothing like this south of San Antonio. It's unique, it's special, and there's a lot of free resources. The operative word is free. And unfortunately, some people don't take advantage of free. So please continue to share our story of eBridge, BCIC, all the downtown revitalization happening, because again, a lot of folks in Brownsville have no clue what's happening down here, and that's a problem. It also creates an opportunity, right? So if you learned anything today, again, just continue to please share our story, and major kudos to the BCIC team.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up. Just a quick final statement. For those who want to be involved with anything downtown but maybe don't have the capital to buy a building or move in, how can local members of the community support what's happening in downtown? Just fast answers.
Well, with BCIC, we offer the Business Improvement and Growth and BIG program. We also have the eBridge Fund, which is a revolving loan fund at a lower interest rate that can help with, purchasing a building, doing different rehabilitation efforts. And with BIG, it's a grant, so you don't have to pay that back. And, you can find our information on our website or email msuarez@bcic.us.
Spend a day downtown. I mean, that's where we got to head, right? Mo's question was right. I mean, come spend a Saturday, go shopping, go eat brunch, then go eat dinner, and help the businesses that are here thrive, and those businesses will grow, and they'll take up more buildings, and that's it. I think spend a day.
Yeah, for me, it's spread the word. Spread positivity and support local. I think in 12 years or 13 years since 2010, we've already managed to change the mindset, change the perception, change the culture, and change the demographic of downtown, and really see past some of the blight that existed back then, and now we're seeing great organic growth, and nothing makes me happier than to see people moving back to Brownsville. And they've moved back because a lot of it has to do with downtown. A lot of it has to do with positive changes at the city and the type of city that we have now. And it was always my goal to make this a city that people would be proud to be from, but more so make it a city that people would want to come back to. And I think we've made some very positive improvements in the last 10, 15 years, and I'm excited about what the next 10 or 15 years are going to look like.
Yeah, you gotta. For me, I could say a lot of things, but strength in numbers for you folks that are embarking on the entrepreneurial endeavor of maybe doing something downtown. Don't feel you have to own 100% of everything. Again, partnerships, strategic alliances. So strength in numbers from that approach, and then strength in numbers from bring your family, bring your friends. To these guys' points, just enjoy the area. Clearly, you guys are believers, but there's some non-believers out there. So try and convert somebody today into a believer in downtown Brownsville, and I guarantee you they'll be pleasantly surprised. I am going to toot the horn for my team and our team. We're currently in the running for a James Beard Award for Outstanding Bar, and we're top 5 in the country right now. And so... Thank you. And I'm not necessarily bringing it up to toot our own horn, maybe a little, but the belief system is changing. The James Beard Foundation is considered the Oscars of the food and beverage world. And so for them to select 2 times in a row, which is wild to me, that an organization in downtown Brownsville is worthy of that nomination. Yes, it's a testament to the team and the hospitality they provide, but it's also, in my opinion, because they love of what's happening downtown. They understand the movement, they understand the challenge, they understand that we're minutes away from another country. And so, again, that nomination is really for all of us. We might be the ambassador for that, but I go back to that recognition has supported all of us because folks don't go to Ramblas for 6 hours. They're going to go have a drink at Ramblas, see what the deal is. They're going to pop into Dodici, have some pizza. They're going to maybe take, a spin to Double Trouble, or they're going to just, go around the area. So any little win that we can get, it not only supports us, it supports the entire ecosystem. And so that's pretty special that not only the support's coming from us, but from a national perspective, we're being looked at pretty frequently, which is pretty special. And that's just a testament to all of us as a collective and what we're doing to enrich our downtown Brownsville.
Thank you all so much. Quick round of applause for our panel. If anyone would like more resources about what Miriam said, we'll be here all week for Startup Week. We're going to take a quick recess and we'll get ready for our next panel. Thank you all.
All right, everybody, we're going to get ready for our next panel. Don't go anywhere. This is a great panel about leadership, women, in this binational world that we live in. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We're about to start in about 5-10 minutes. No se me vayan,